Hi, welcome to the third and last, in case you're counting, video about signature imposition. In this video, you're going to need a ruler. And it's best if you have a ruler that's about 18 inches long, like this one, from 0 to 18. If you have a shorter one, you can probably get away with it, but it's a little easier if you have an 18-inch ruler because of the size paper we're going to be working with. You'll need a pen, and you'll need some paper that is 17.5 by 23 inches. You won't have this paper at home, so make sure you stop by the Image Transfer Lab and get some from our lab manager. In the last couple of videos, I've been talking about making booklets. Okay, I never did really define what a booklet is. So let's do it now. A booklet is 64 pages or less. So if you were to put together a 32-page catalog for a seed company, for example, with flowers and pictures of plants, that sort of thing, then it would be called a booklet. Now, a book is more than 64 pages. Now, that's an arbitrary division, but it is a division that's used by people in the industry. So 64 pages or less is a booklet, more than 64 is a book. So if we're making a very large, thick book, like one of the Lord of the Rings books or something like that, it would take an awful lot of paper, an awful lot of time to print on 11 by 17 or smaller size paper. So typically we use much larger sheets of paper and bigger presses to print books than we would booklets. So that's why we're starting with larger paper. Okay, start by taking a sheet of 17.5 by 23 inch paper and put it horizontally in front of you and fold it from left to right. Now remember that that sheet of paper, when we started, was one sheet, but it was 2 pages. I fold it in half, and now it is one sheet, but 4 pages, awfully big pages. Rotate it 1/4 turn clockwise, and then fold it exactly in half again. Now at this point, this is nothing really new. We've done this before in the previous video. We now have an 8-page booklet, but it is larger than the one you did in the previous video because we started with larger paper. So we're going to start a little bit different at this point. So what I'd like you to do is turn this sheet of paper so that the fold is on the bottom and the other folds are on your left side. At this point, take your ruler and use inches, okay, not centimeters or picas, and put a mark right there at 1/4 of an inch. Put another mark here at 1/4 of an inch. And then connect it by drawing a straight line to connect those 2 marks that you made. This mark indicates a very special margin on a sheet of paper that I'll explain to you in a minute. We're going to mark this LIP. Now, because this is a folded document, this line has a mirror on this side. So let's open the signature and continue that line all the way across from one end of the sheet to the other. Now you see, this is why it's nice to have an 18-inch ruler. If you don't have an 18-inch ruler, then you can mark 1/4 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch. All right, so this is also a lip. So let's mark this lip, LIP. Again, this is a folded document. So if I open this margin is also on this side. All right, so we're going to need to mirror this on the other side as well. So we'll open this up. Here's the ruler. And from the fold, mark 1/4 of an inch. And if you have a long ruler, you can go all the way to the edge over here and mark it 1/4 of an inch. And then connect the 2 lines, or the 2 dots that you made, with a 17.5-inch long line. This margin also represents a lip and a lip. Okay? Now go ahead and fold it back up again using the exact same folds that you had before. And we now have an 8-page signature with a lip margin. At this point, we're going to finish this signature. So put it as you would have previously done with the margins on the top. This is the way it should be. With the margins, the lip margin on your right, the open pages to the left and to the bottom, and the fold on the top. Then at this point, fold not to the edge of the paper, but fold to the lip line. Now at this point, you're going to see it's a little messy fold down here at the bottom. Yeah, that's to be expected, seeing as how paper does not fold perfectly. All right, so we go ahead and fold it so that now there is this distance, this lip. It sticks out a little bit like your lip does when you're pouting. All right, what is this for? If I have a stack of these signatures, the machine that puts them together, which is called a collator, will grab these signatures by the lip, lift it up, and drop it on the saddle of the saddle stitching machine. So this lip is a margin that is used to open the signature and put it onto the saddle of the collating machine. You have to have it there. Okay. All right. Now, if you look at this, this is pretty ugly fold down here. We're going to have to get rid of that. We have to make this pretty. Also, you can't really open these pages back here. Right? So we're going to have to cut off the edges here. So to do that, we use what is called a trim margin. So let's take our ruler again and put a 1/4 inch line here, one here, and then draw across. And this time, instead of drawing a straight line, you're going to do dashes. Dashes are the universal symbol for a trim margin. Okay? Notice that the lip margin is also trimmed. Do the same thing at the bottom. Put a 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch over here, and draw across. Again, we're going to do dashes and not a straight line. Well, the dashes are straight, but it's not a solid line. No. This also has to be cut off. So here's our lip. Lip is just an extra margin for the binding machine. We're going to put another 1/4 inch trim in here so that all this ugliness gets trimmed off. So we're going to put a mark here that is a 1/4 inch from my lip line. And we're going to dash it as well. Okay, so now we have indicated the trims and the lip margin on our signature. Okay, so let's take a look at what has happened here. We put the trim margins around the edge and the lip margins. So if you were to take your ruler now and measure from the bind, from the saddle stitched bind to your trim mark, you have 5 1/4 inches. So what has happened is this great big sheet of paper, 17.5 by 23, now results in a page size that's 5 1/4 inches wide. If you measure from the top to the bottom, top trim to the bottom trim, you get 8 1/4 inches. So we can mark that, if 8 1/4 by 5 1/4, so you know that this finished booklet is not going to be 6 by 9 inches or 8.5 by 11 or whatever. It's going to be 5 1/4 by 8 1/4. Now you also remember that we traced this lip line and made a mirror image of it. The same thing has to happen here. All right, so we know that we have all of these trim margins and they have to be extended. So let's go ahead and do that. And if you have a short ruler, make sure you mark 1/4 inches everywhere. And do dash lines. Just extend the lines that you have drawn on the first page. Okay. Now what about this line over here? That's a lip. Now you might remember that the lip sticks out of the trim, right? So that means we have to add another trim line inside here. So that's going to be a 1/4 inch inside. and is a dashed line. Okay, so at this point, your signature should look like this, with a solid lip line, dashed lines around the rest of it. Okay, now we're not cutting off this, we're not trimming off this because it's going to be saddle stitched. If we were going to make this into a perfect bound book, for example, then we would have to put a margin on each side where the paper will be ground off to apply the glue for the binding. If we were going to make this a spiral binder or something of that nature, we would have to trim off 1/4 of an inch on each side. But this is going to be saddle stitched, so we go ahead and leave it as it is. All right. Now, again, remember we opened this document in order to make this long line here, right? So we have to do the same thing for the trim lines. The trim lines affect the entire sheet. So let's go ahead and extend all of the trim lines all the way across. That looks pretty easy. All right. So we extended the lines that are already there, but what about these? Well, if there's a trim on this side, there has to be one on this side. So let's go ahead and put 1/4 of an inch trim margin on this side. And over here. So everything that you have on one side of a signature has to be mirrored onto the other. It's a mirror image. By the way, I'm not making any of these things exactly perfect. You will be using some software in the lab that will make this perfect. But right now we're just trying to get the concept across. Okay, so everything is mirrored. And in case you think we're finished, we're not, because we have to open it and we have to mirror image everything that's on this side to this side. So, and it gets a little complicated because it's such a big sheet of paper. So I'm just going to go ahead and mirror all of these. And don't worry, we'll put a picture of it all in the movie so that you can see it all finished close up, so you'll know exactly what it looks like. Okay. Again, if you have a short ruler, you're going to have to put 1/4 inch tick marks on the page so that you get it fairly close. But I'm just extending the lines that are already on the other side of the sheet. And it's a little time consuming, but we're almost finished with this. Okay. So again, take a quick look and make sure that everything mirrors everything on the opposite side. So if you take a look at this, you'll see that a lot of the paper actually is used for trims. You have a 1/4 inch here, 1/4 inch here, quarter, 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 quarter. So if you add those together, it's 1/4, 2/4, 3, 4, 5, 6/4. So out of this 23 inches, we're using for trims and lip margins 1.5 inches. Going across the sheet, we're using 1, 2, 3, 4/4. That's 1 inch. Now, I'm not going to make you do it, but the other side would be exactly the same. Now, I drew with a pen that bleeds through the paper a little bit, and you can see all the lines that have been drawn on the other side. So everything is mirrored from one side to the other, and everything is mirrored from front to the back. Okay, now that we've got our signature marked with trims and lips, let's fold it back together again. And make sure that the lip margin is on your right side. All right, in the same way that we've done before, let's make this into a 16-page booklet. All right, so let's paginate it at the bottom outside corners. And from 1 to 8, you're not going to have any problems. But go ahead and get started putting the page numbers, the folios, on the bottom outside corners of each page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Remember this thing? That's a natural spread, huh? Okay, now here's where your problem comes in. See, it's a little bit difficult to open 9 to 10, so you're going to have to kind of wiggle this around and mark page 10 and 11. 12 and 13 are easy to do. 14, 15, and 16. All right. Just as a reminder, pages 4 and 5 are a reader's spread. Pages 8 and 9 are a reader's spread and a printer's spread, so therefore it is also a natural spread. Okay, let's unfold all this and see what we've got. Page 12 and page 5 are next to each other. Page 1 and page 16 are next to each other. Now this is getting a little confusing, a little complicated, isn't it? That's why you have to do this, and it's also why the person who does this has to sign it, because it's a signature, right? Okay, let's take a look at some of the other stuff we did in the other video and apply it to this. All right, where is the front? All right, the front is the side that has page 1 on it. So we're going to mark this side front. All right, the front is the side we did all of our marks on. Turn it over. And the other side is the back, isn't it? If one side is the front, the other side is the back. Okay, what about our printing guides? Well, we know we have to have the lowest page, page 1, to our right and down. Okay, so we have to put this page 1 on the bottom. We have to look at the back, and to the right-hand side. So we turn it. Here's page 1. It's on our right side, and it's down. At that point, we have to put marks towards us. All right, so here's our marks for the guide, and to our left. So those are the guide sides. So as this sheet of paper were to go into the press, if it were to go this way, it would move in this direction and then be side guided. If it were to go this way, it would move towards the front stops of the press and then be side guided. These are the guides. The guides are the same in the press, the folding machine, and the paper cutter. So we have now marked our guides front and back. How would you make a 32-page booklet? Well, all you have to do is put one inside the other. Put another inside that, and we have, what, 48 pages. We do another, and we would have 64 pages. So you can keep adding 16-page signatures inside each other. And, of course, the pagination that we did here is wrong, isn't it? So that's pretty much what we'll do with 16-page signatures. One last thing I'll show you on this video is a 32-page signature, a single 32-page signature. Now, this particular size paper that we are working with is not going to make a very large 32-page signature, but we're going to do it anyway. We're going to take a sheet of paper and fold it in half. You fold it in half once and you get 4 pages. Rotate it clockwise. And we're not going to worry about any lips or anything now. I just want to show you how to make a 32-page signature. Well, rotate it, fold it just like I showed you, rotate it again. Okay, now we've folded it 3 times. 3 times gives you 16 pages. All right, so then you'd rotate it again, and you see it gets kind of small here. But if this is a really large sheet of paper, this would be a large signature, wouldn't it? This would be a large page. So this is a 32-page signature. So just for kicks, let's write down here on the front of this, it's a 32-page signature. And as a reminder, we're going to say, okay, if I have no folds, if I don't fold a sheet of paper in half at all right, one sheet of paper has 2 pages. If we fold it in half once, we have 4 pages. If we fold it in half twice, we have 8 pages. If we fold it in half 3 times, we have 16 pages. If we fold it in half 4 times, we have 32 pages. If we were to fold it in half 5 times, we would have 64 pages. Now, there are very few signatures that are more than 64 pages for one signature. It would require a very large press. All right, so let's take a look at this. Just numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Here, notice how everyone doubles. So this is a logarithmic scale, sort of like the density scale that we learned about in 3351. All right, so it goes 2, 4, doubled, doubled, double, double, double. Notice that there's not an answer there. There's not a 9 pages. There's not a 17 pages. So what if you have a booklet that is supposed to be 38 pages? Well, you'd have to have extra pages, wouldn't you? Because you can't, there's no way that you can make a total of 38 pages. You'd have to make 32 plus some additional. Okay? So just realize that we are faced with certain limitations. Whenever we fold a sheet of paper in half, again, it doubles the number of pages. So with that, practice doing some of these things. We're going to come back and do a lot of the math involved with this in the 4372 class that you might take in the future. But in the meantime, happy folding. Don't forget to put the samples that we just did today, our 16-page signature, into the portfolio, as well as the 32-page signature. This portfolio will be due according to the schedule on your syllabus. It should also be shown on the Blackboard Learn site, so make sure you get this turned in the time frame required. Thanks a lot.